Chapter Proof 2022. There's a ton of changes. You guys got to check this out. Usually a update brought to you by Games Workshop. They are saying they're going to try to do this either quarterly or every 6 months for a more bigger update. They're bringing in chapter approved, the match play rules up to snuff. They're doing usually some changes, some updates. Sometimes we have mission changes, sometimes we have secondary changes, but usually every time there is a points update to kind of bring everything in line and try to make things a little bit more fair, especially since after a codex release and something wins a whole lot, they want to kind of do an update to this. So that's kind of what Chapter Proof is in a nutshell, is if you play match play Warhammer 40k, you're going to want to pay attention to Chapter Proof because that's how you're going to play. So missions had a really big overhaul. They completely changed all the primary missions out. They lowered points for each primary, so it goes from, instead of 5, 10, 15, and now it goes to 4, 8, 12. At the same time too, they got rid of the mission secondaries that were attached to each mission. Now they're kind of like a bonus points you can get, and they're all different. We had 2 shown to us before, and those were probably the 2 easiest ones. All the new ones run the gamut of either you kill stuff, you hold certain objectives, or you complete a lot of actions. And that's the biggest change, is that now we have this forced action option that is not something we had before. So a lot of armies were able to ignore the actions because they really couldn't do them or didn't have option to them, and now you're going to have to do them if you want to get those bonus points. And that's really the biggest shift I've seen in these ones on there. There's also multiple layers of some of them don't allow any CP regeneration unless you are warlords on the table or in a transport on the table. Another one only allows CP regeneration if you control objectives not in your deployment zone, so you're gonna have to come out and go do stuff. There's even some of these extra bonus missions that you can take points away from your opponent by doing stuff on there and controlling not controlling your primary objective. So it's kind of a weird set of stuff, and my biggest fear on some of these things is that some of these just won't matter, so you're just going to have lower scoring games, which can be a benefit depending on how you do the matchup system in a tournament, but we'll have to wait and see as we kind of actually start playing these. I think we're going to start seeing these points kind of shift away from these 90 to 100 point games to more in the 70s and 80s, which I think could be a lot more interesting and get a little bit closer to those points. On top of all these primary mission changes, we also had changes to the secondary. Most of those got leaked out, most of those have been talked to, but the biggest thing is now there's specific secondary missions that are for specific armies. We've got Chaos Knights, Imperial Knights, Chaos Space Marines, Chaos Demons, a NID one, and Astra Militarum. So you have these extra ones that are kind of filtered into the main ones. I kind of wish they were in a separate section so you didn't get them mixed up, but it's okay. Most of them are pretty simple. They're all based upon you killing stuff with things that are important to you. The AM one seems the easiest. You just kill something and you'll get get points for it. The Chaos Knight one is all dependent on if you kill something when your knight's in your deployment zone, in no man's land, or in your enemy's deployment zone. You'll get points for that. Chaos Space Marines want to take you off objectives for some reason, and so that's kind of on that one. I think in Imperial Knights you have to control everything else, and then NIDs have to kill with a synaptic setup. And then the Chaos Demons is the weirdest one, where you have to break people with leadership. So so that's an odd one, and it makes me always think there may be some more leadership stuff coming in there. But that's kind of like the big mission secondaries. And then on top of all this, we also have a big shift in how you build armies. The best way to explain it is if you have a faction selectable keyword, which means a keyword in a bracket for your faction, and it can be selectable, all of those ones that are selectable that can be the same matching one have to match. So for Grey Knights, it means everyone has to be the same brotherhood. For Marines, everything has to be the same chapter, so you can no longer have like Ultramarine Salamanders and vice versa. It doesn't really do anything to the big mean guy is Dark Eldar, because Dark Eldar, since you can have a separate coven, a separate cabal, a separate witch cult, it does mean you're not going to see 2 different witch cults or 2 different covens in there anymore. So you're only going to see one type of coven, which I think most of the lists are switching to. It also seems to will affect NIDS more too, because there was some weird combinations of Leviathan with Kronos or one of the other ones that allowed you better shooting for the Hive Guard. But I think most NID players are going to big monster smashy Crusher Stampede, so it's a moot point there. And a lot of the other armies had things that kind of locked in there, so you'll see that kind of stuff. I guess you won't see Cadian with the Talaran running around as well, so that's coming. That's kind of a new kind of shift in the big one. I kind of wish it went a little further, but that would totally break how Dark Eldar works, so I can't, it's really hard to say. Winner wise, Space Wolves randomly drop some points. I happen to be playing Thunder Wolves for something and they dropped down, so I'm kind of excited that I have more points there. The biggest winner obviously was Dark Eldar somehow won with Coven point drops that we already saw. Marines had a little bit of points here and there. Custodes get a point update already, even though the book just came out. A lot of their points went down and they simplified them. Miscordia seems to be now part of the unit for anything not Forge World. So I think that's one of the bigger winners, that all of a sudden you get a Custodes book with a lot of neat, awesome stuff, and now you get more things, which means by more things a single guy or something else. But hey, that's awesome. The crazy thing I think is going to win in all this is the upcoming Tau stuff, because all the new missions have a lot of actions, and Tau has a lot of rules that allow it to do actions and still shoot. So any of those armies that have abilities to say, hey, if you do an action but you can still interact with the game and do damage, are going to be extremely powerful. So Tau has some of that stuff. Some of the other armies have some of that stuff. I would expect to see it show up in other armies as the new books get released and they're saying, hey, you can do action and shoot. So all of that stuff is going to be much more important, become a much more powerful ability, and something you need to look at when you're building these lists, that you're able to do this stuff. The GSC has some of this stuff where I think one of the cults allows you to do actions and do stuff. So that's kind of like the overall winners. Losers on it that got hit really hard from points. Orcs got hit really hard. Squigosaur went up a lot, even though you haven't really seen him on the tabletop. It makes me think that initial thoughts after the book came out from playtesters were like, this is going to be bonkers, and it ended up not being bonkers. The kill rig did go up, and that made sense. It's a pretty rough option as well. I think commandos also went up too, so a lot of things there. At the same time too, also got their buggies went up, even though they got a limitation on buggies, so you're kind of like, why'd you go up on all this stuff? They didn't go after the Wazboom, which I thought was weird, because that one started showing up later, but I guess it's less of an issue. It makes me feel that orcs will shift to the Speed Freak army, which is, bikes didn't go up, so I expect things going there, which I think will be pretty powerful. Running on the table, Death Koptas are going to be a pain in the butt because of being able to go in and out depending on what tournament allows you based on their rules, because there's no real FAQ yet from the last campaign book. Death Guard got hit with points up, which is really kind of frustrating. I think Blight Lords, Poxwalkers, and Death Shrouds all went up. So the old Terminus Est army that was around that could do stuff that might have been better in this new mission standout got kind of screwed on a little bit. A lot of the Demon Engines saw points drop. So if you didn't like Plague Burst Crawlers, you're going to start seeing them more now because they're cheaper, and you'll see 3 of them. Same with the Mythic Blight Haulers. It's one of my favorite little turd vehicles, I call them, and I just love them to death because they look so goofy, and those seem to went down in points. Chaos Space Marines saw a lot of points drops. It's very frustrating they didn't get an extra wound, but hey, stuff is cheaper, so that's pretty cool. So you can start fielding more stuff, and then you wait for whatever the Codex comes out in months and months and months. That's kind of the bigger thing on here. Like the points felt a little weird, and again, it makes me wish that we had just done this all digitally, and you always having a digital update on this. I don't mind the rule book printed out because I think that's great. That's always good to have that there, but points could be something that could easily shift, so a quick mistake can be quickly fixed if something kind of messed up on there. But that's kind of my thought on there. If you're a match play player, you're going to buy this. My biggest frustration with this thing was that I wish that the missions were spiral bound, but I do know coming in the White Dwarf, there's going to have the secondaries all separated in cards, so you get that for free. It was something we got when you played the GW tournament. One of the reasons why I say always try to go to at least one of them. This is a real neat kind of addition you get, besides everything else. I wish these points were just something they put in a White Dwarf. They've sold it before, you can buy them there, and this would allow people to get that. You allow for a lot faster release schedule on this, that you can release it, X amount of months, or if there's a mistake, you can replace it. I did like how all the mission stuff is all in the one simple section, and you get to keep that on your own, and I think it'll be good. That way, if these missions probably won't update for every 6 months, I think they're going to try to do some kind of either a campaign or kind of ability to do this every 6 months. It's not going to be nearly as devastating, or like you have to buy this rules all over again. At least this one I feel is a worthwhile purchase, and I think it's something you want to grab up, since there is massive changes to how this game is going to be played. Hey, if you want to check out the Custodes reviews, you can see how the point changes seem to have made them better. I'm Goatboy from Bowls. Thanks for watching.